Hello there, and welcome to my guide about quantum stockpiles in Dwarf Fortress. In this one, I'm going to explain what the term means, and I'm going to show you two different methods to set up quantum stockpiles by yourself. One pretty simple, and the other one more sophisticated, complicated, and more versatile. So let's get started with the explanation itself. It's quite simple. When you store things here in Dwarf Fortress, most of the time your dudes, they just pack one item on each piece of grid. But sometimes there are things like these where you see there's a crap ton of items on one piece of grid, and that's what we call a quantum stockpile. Whenever there's stuff condensed on one piece of grid on the ground, this is technically already a quantum stockpile. So there are a couple of tricks how you can convince the game to compress items to your own liking, and I'm going to show you how. So the first one is very simple, and it utilizes the garbage dump zone. So it only works if you have no other garbage dumps dedicated in your entire fortress. To set it up, it is quite simple. You dedicate one piece of garbage dump, and then you select what's supposed to be compactified, and then you put it into the dumping. So let's dump these pieces of galena, and you'll see the magic happening. That's something weird here in the interaction between the dumping zone and items. The moment something is dropped on the dumping zone, your dwarfs will ignore the limit of one item per grid. So basically now they're going to start and drop all the items that were before littered here all over the ground on that one piece where we dedicated the garbage dump. So the problem there is that it does not work with several garbage dumps. You can only control where the items will land when there's only one garbage dump, but we can delete it now and unlock it now. And as you see there, we have all the items now on one spot, and we can now select a stockpile and tell it to be filled with stone or something like that, or configure it accordingly that nobody will pick it up where we don't want it to. You can work with this one now. The moment there is a stockpile on top of that, your system is again registering this as something in your possession. So this method is pretty cool because it's very quick, very easy to set up, but it has the drawback that once you have more than one garbage dump, it doesn't work anymore, and technically it blocks you from using the garbage dump zone for anything else when you use that to compactify zones more regularly. Also, it needs a lot of your hoarder's work, but that's the least of your worries. So the other method that I want to introduce there is more difficult to set up, but it allows you to automate things in a longer period of time, and it allows you to sort more specifically what you want to quantum stockpile and whatnot. So it will require one minecart. You can find them at the other objects tab in your metalsmith's forge. And besides that, couple of commands that you need to memorize now. So first things first, we need a stockpile that's going to be the quantum stockpile. So this is going to be the spot where we want to be at. For our example, we're going to compactify all our wood into this little thing here. While you can, though, do this for whatever you want to. You can also do a custom setting, but for this demonstration, we're going to stick with wood. So constructions is the next thing we require, a track stop. So we configure it to dump into the direction where our stockpile is at, and we place it right next to that. So there we go. So now we have a track stop here, dumping into that stockpile zone. The next thing we require is a feeding stockpile zone, where the items that should be compactified will get dumped into, and then they will be transported in there. All right, so this has to have the same settings as this one, because they basically were telling them to use both of them. And what's really important, the receiving stockpile zone has to have this one turned off. So this one is going to be not allowed to pick up items from everywhere. It's only going to be allowed to pick up items from the minecart, which will be sitting on top of this stop here. It's really important, otherwise things won't work. What's also really important is No storage items like barrels, bins, and the likes. That won't work either. All right, so next thing that we got to do is we have to set up the minecart. So you do this with this setting here. You go for the holding route menu, and you set up the route right on top of the stop here. So we tell the game to add one stop to this route, and it's going to be right on top of this one. We designate a minecart, the one we built before, and now we are going to configure this thing. You go in here and you delete everything because we don't need those. You go in here, done first. You go in here and now we link the stockpiles. So now we tell the stop to give items to our quantum stockpile and take items from our feeding stockpile. So this will work like that. And now, as the last thing, we tell the minecart what kind of item he should accept. In our scenario, wood. So here we go. Now we have the stockpile configured for wood. It's not allowed to take anything. It has no bins and anything. And same goes for this one here. It doesn't matter. It can take from anywhere because we want to have all the wood that can come from anywhere being sucked in here. And we have this thing here configured to dump its items in here and take its items from here. And it has to be configured to have only access to the items that you want to stockpile, and these things have to be deleted. And that's all. So now we can just watch and let that thing work. What's happening now is your haulers will dump the items in here. If you want to make things faster, we can now tell them to pick up items from this stockpile. And your haulers also will casually make sure that the items will be dumped on over here. Now, it takes a moment for our system to get into. They don't have the minecart installed yet, so our haulers are dumping the items on there. It's all going according to plan. Now we have a little bit of a delay because the people were dumping the item already on there, and now it's moving the minecart back and forth. But here's everything going according to plan. The grid here is filled, and all we have to wait for now is that the minecart will get deployed here again. So let's see. He's still holding the minecart. Well, but that's pretty much all. What will happen now is that once the minecart has been finally deployed, well, I'm going to show you in a second. Alright, so our friend Urist McHall Slow has finally fulfilled his job and the minecart is in position. And now we can watch them do their job. It's really that simple. Now the next thing that will happen, our haulers, when they have nothing to do, they're going to go on over there, put the log into the minecart, and then magic will happen. Here we go. And now it will compactify every piece of log on that piece of grid. The advantages are pretty clear. We can configure these stockpiles just as we want to. We can put into these quantum stockpiles whatever we need. We can put in furniture or whatever is going to clump your stockpiles. And the best part about it is, unlike the other method, you don't need to delete anything because it's all very nicely confined and works well. And now we could tell our workshops to pick up from this stockpile, and lots of things can be done with that one. Downsides for this method are quite simple. It doesn't work with barrels and containers. You cannot move bins and barrels and the like this. It just doesn't work. And the other thing is it requires some setup, and at the end of the day, well, it is quite finicky, but beyond that, I personally see it only superior to the garbage dump method. But I personally only set up this little thing wherever I feel like I really need that in a high frequency, whereas if I just want to dump things together real quickly, the garbage dump method is a very, very quick fix. So there are also other methods like the firing of catapults can be used to stockpile rocks and the like, but I felt like these two methods give you all the tools that you require to set up your quantum stockpiles as you see them fit for your own fortresses. Feel free to drop me in the comments down below any other methods that you like to use, or any thoughts, questions, whatever crosses your mind. I'd be really happy to hear from you. Besides that, leave a thumbs up on that video, to make it more visible for other people, and consider subscribing. There's daily content coming up from my side. You also will find a playlist link down there in the description box leading to all the other Dwarf Fortress tutorials that I've made so far. Thanks for watching again, and have a wonderful day.